Okay, fingers crossed I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, hi. Welcome to more Great Ace Attorney. We started case 4 yesterday. We just got to, Herlock Sholmes' suite. We haven't actually seen him this episode yet, but we just met Iris. I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in this country, in fact. Really? Lingering beside the fire and watching the flames flicker and dance in the grate. It's so relaxing.
We can't relax. Not when there are so many interesting things on the mantelpiece. Oh, it's just as was described in the stories.
It is?
Yes, exactly. Inside that Persian slipper, for example. I make chocolates for 11s. And transfixed by that large jackknife is my shopping list for the market. Oh, it's not quite how I remember it being described in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes.
Poor Susato-san. She looks crushed. If I'm not mistaken, there's like a lot of flavor dialogue in here. Looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. Seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock.
Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous.
That's a very Maya line. Like, Susato and Maya are very different characters, but there's like a Venn diagram where they have overlap. How did you come to that conclusion?
Oh, that chest contains some of my most valuable things.
That smile tells me you're not going to give us any clue about what they are. I'm surprised that the couch itself doesn't have a...
A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, a bust of Napoleon. What an entrancing collection.
This is the first time in my life that I've seen a lonely old shoe displayed as an ornament.
Oh, those are all mementos that Hurley has collected from his past cases.
Really? Even the bust?
Yes, that's right. When the mood takes him, he likes to throw it on the floor and smash it to dust.
The poor defenseless emperor? Mr. Sholmes destroys it?
It's better than... It's better than him dropping it out the window. Last time that happened, he had a murder charge on his hands. Yes, and then he buys a new one.
Make it sound like he has the temperament of an insane sculptor.
How intrinsically bohemian of him.
There's all sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high I can't help feeling that the whole lot's going to topple at any moment.
Don't touch that, that's purely decorative. It's very, very carefully stacked. I keep telling Hurley not to cram so much on those shelves.
Good advice.
He wanted to look something up in one of those books a while ago. But it was so tightly wedged in, he couldn't get it out, so he went and bought a new copy instead.
I've seen pictures of Western musical instruments like this. It's called a violin, isn't it?
Of course it is, Mr. Sholmes. Of course it is. Mr. Sholmes is renowned for his violin playing. You're Mr. Sholmes now, Ryunosuke. No questions.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. It's often explained in the stories. It's inspirational, Mr. Naruhodo. Inspirational. I immediately started playing the koto, which is the closest Japanese stringed instrument I could find.
What a shame you couldn't bring it with you to London.
Oh, yes. Well, Papa was beaming when I asked him if he would buy me one. But after a while, he asked if I would only practice when he was out of the house. So now it's merely an ornament in my room.
That must have been an awkward conversation. I like that was an achievement. What on earth is this huge over-the-top machine?
And that's the great analytoscope. It can analyze anything, really, anything at all. That's absolutely incredible. It's one of Hurley's inventions. It took him a whole year. He said it was to help him with his investigations. What sort of things has he analyzed with it? Do you know? Well, actually, he hasn't used it for anything yet. Oh.
Why not?
Apparently on the evening he finally completed it, it suddenly occurred to him. I don't actually have anything I need to analyze. Oh dear. How about you, Bruno? Do you have anything you'd like to analyze?
The only thing that springs to mind is this machine itself. I like that there's a cane or a pipe in the little potion thing here.
Bruno, don't touch that bottle. It's full of nitroglycerin.
What does Herlock Sholmes need nitroglycerin for?
Don't ask.
What a beautiful English tea set. So neatly arranged.
It's a favorite pastime of mine. A cup of herbal tea in the afternoon. Tea made of herbs. That's right. I grow all sorts of herbs in the garden, so I can experiment with different blends. Did you like your tea earlier? I put nightshade in it.
I don't know what's gotten into me today. My brain is just like, Iris decided to murder them, I guess.
One moment, don't go away. I'll brew a pot of the special blend I came up with earlier today.
She looks delighted. I only hope it's safe to drink. See, the game's in on it too.
That's my blackboard, where I write down ideas.
Ooh, interesting. Let's see. Black Peter. What does that mean?
Don't you want to hear what Iris has to say, Mr. Naruhodo?
I'll come back to that blackboard later. I swear, that's written in the same style of notation that Pine writes their notes in. Like, genuinely, they have a list of random crap that we've, like, talked about. And, one of the things... there's something about, like, Large Benjamin on there. That was from an offhanded conversation we had. I'll have to, ask... I'll have to ask them, I'll have to ask them about it next time they're on stream, so that we can get the, proper recounting on stream. It's a charming little white shelf, and full of charming little bottles, too.
Oh yes, but don't touch any of those. They might explode.
Explode?
Are they exotic chemicals? Do you use them for exciting experiments? Yes, indeed. And as Hurley always says, chemistry is an explosive science.
Sorry?
I agree. A single discovery can trigger an explosion of innovation, all around the world.
Perhaps he just meant it literally. Either way, mental note, do not touch any bottle that belongs to Iris. What on earth is that big black lump over there?
Ah, that fascinating thing is called a typewriter. It's a machine that allows you to write on paper without needing a pen. And it's wizardly quick, too.
Only if you know how to touch type. Oh, that sounds like it could be very useful for someone like me with terrible handwriting. Guess I'm done looking around. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey?
Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming.
Though at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us.
Like this. Thinking back now, you left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you?
Oh yes, that awkward witness. Gina Lestrade. She's the best.
Oh, Ginny? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket.
So we found out.
It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that.
You're referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly. So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions.
This girl is dangerous.
Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry? Your technician?
Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Herlock. Herlock Sholmes. We live here together.
I had no idea the great detective had such a interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what's your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate.
You're roommates?
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year.
Well, what of your mother and father? Ryunosuke, that's a landmine of a question. You never ask the one child where their mother and father is if they say that they're...
Oh no, they're not around.
Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there.
Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes and... Oh, you have a copy of Ransk magazine? Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world.
My stories?
That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see. And he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land.
Gosh, I definitely set Iris's voice way too high. But we'll roll with it.
And so I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. And so you are the author. Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call it this latest adventure, The Speckled Band.
Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar.
Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories, here and there. And this time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course, I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story, and some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think, don't you? So, do you mean to say, are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Ranced magazine all written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson.
Susato-san's getting more and more worked up.
Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? And that's all true too. I am a doctor of medicine.
No, at 10 years old?
At 10 years old.
Well, that's quite incredible.
But... Dr. Wilson is also an English gentleman. Ah, yes. I did alter the setting slightly, for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow. I suppose it does, yes.
Poor Susato-san. It looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. About before.
Yes, what's on your mind, Bruno? Do tell me.
How did you know that I was a lawyer? And we just arrived in London, I mean.
Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted. Although there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin.
I definitely don't remember this.
Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. And first of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Bruno. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber.
But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that?
I observed a passport and a travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket.
Oh,
And so I was reasonably confident that you must only have just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs.
Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I?
Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with the suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. Ah. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize.
Also, what is this, like, Mind Palace background?
And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. And so that told me, even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. Gosh, this voice is really hard to keep up. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face. So I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case.
I see.
But how could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home for a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he'd caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling.
A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been...
Mr. Natsume.
Hey Sachi, how are you doing?
Now, Runo has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both come from Japan yourselves. And so I put two and two together, and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And there was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow.
Hey Steve, how are you doing? I'm doing alright.
Hurley is always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know? He's silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions.
Hurley is a dingus, but he's a lovable dingus.
Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct?
They were spot on.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
You have managed to certain something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery.
Oh well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please?
So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying?
Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. His past had finally caught up with him, and the police were waiting with him there.
The great detective is a popular man, it seems.
Apparently a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man.
Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. Soseki-san said that he didn't see anyone else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all.
Hurley used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room, very nearby. He went directly there with the police. And what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man, shivering in fear.
Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time.
course it did. He's a great detective.
Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime.
Oh.
And Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear. I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. And that's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court.
Starting off the stream with a solid wall of text from Iris is just certainly something.
Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system.
Yeah, Iris is great. She also has a shelf full of explosives, so... I suppose it is. But in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. Susato says that, and still follows it with the world's greatest justice system. She's so fucking close. Yeah. As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well.
Well... I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene.
Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Natsume? Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Do you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson while you were there?
Yes, we know Inspector Gregson.
Goody. In that case, give Gregsy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know.
What is this?
A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems. Iris, are you bribing the police? Shh! Don't mention it! It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Wow, this does sound like shady dealings. Holy shit. I've played through this case, but I genuinely don't remember most of it. It reads, Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, this'll make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Good luck, then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime. So, somewhat dubious they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note, and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. Gregson, I trust that you will allow Ryunosuke to to investigate the crime scene. Otherwise, I will mail you a pipe bomb. And you know I will do it.
It looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation.
Perfect. So let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible.
Yes, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. Oh gosh, what was Gregson's voice? Is this Iris or Susanoo? Because both would mail him a pipe bomb. That was supposed to be Iris. Yeah, that was supposed to be Iris. That is a big-ass coin, though.
This is a 5-shilling piece, isn't it? I believe it's called a crown.
Yes, and you can train a Scotland Yard detective to do whatever you want with just a single one. Wow.
Iris must be the most powerful 10-year-old in the world.
How much is 5 shillings, by the way? What is it really worth? Why are they threatening pipe bombs? It was a little bit deeper. Yeah, like, Iris's voice I set definitely way too high to be able to do large amounts of text in. So I dropped it down a little bit, but... How much is 5 shillings, by the way? What is it really worth?
Well... It's probably enough to buy all the chips the inspector could possibly eat in a whole month.
That's greasy. Iris's little handwriting is adorable, isn't it?
Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem.
Yes, the handwriting might be adorable, but the message is ominous. There's no room for sentiment there.
I'm sure it's simply the way you're interpreting it, Mr. Naruhodo.
Iris doesn't even need to threaten Gregson with a pipe bomb in his mailbox. He's already gotten one, and that's why she's like, I trust that won't be a problem.
Anyway, I do hope the inspector will tell us what we need to know when he reads it.
You don't think it'll just make him munch piping hot chips until steam comes out of his ears, do you?
Well, that wouldn't be an entirely terrible outcome.
I'm bribing a Scotland Yard police officer. Strangely enough, this is one of the least egregious instances of the protagonist of one of these games committing crime. Why was that phrase so difficult for me to say? I'm really completely aside. I find it really funny that the instant that it's not Gumshoe is the instant that the games are just like, oh yeah, bribe the detective. Rather than, you know, giving Detective Gumshoe literally any amount of money. Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign catabouts, that's for sure.
We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson.
What? For me? From her ladyship? Her ladyship? Give that here, at once! Come on, hand it over. That's for me! Don't wait for me to give it to you, will you? Unfortunately, Ryunosuke is not gay enough to do crimes. Oh god, is it a pipe bomb?
Gregson, the last pipe bomb was just a smoke grenade. The last pipe bomb was just a smoke bomb, but the next one won't be. This is your warning.
What was that coin exactly? Silver crown, obviously. It's a lot more than that. It's, well, it's an appearance fee, that's what it is.
An appearance fee? Oh, I see. You mean...
That's right, for the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. The ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for her featuring me, every time.
Yes, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly.
Of course, her using my name without my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes, but still.
I am sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you.
Never you mind that. So, you want to know then, eh?
Sorry?
The gentleman in black, whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know?
Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings.
Those chips of his must be super cold, yeah. The little knife-wielding mustache Japanese fellow. He lives in a right old hovel. Just over there, look. First floor in that house, on the corner where that wreck of a bicycle's propped up.
That's nearby indeed.
If I remember rightly, the landlord is Mr. John Garadeb. Hey, Dash. It's nice seeing you again, though. Right, well, if you see her again, you make sure you give her ladyship my regards, you hear? I mean it, you tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes.
Don't worry, Inspector, we will.
What was the do you remember what the last stream was? That you stopped in at, Dash?
Don't worry, we will.
Bye for now, then. Long live her ladyship.
Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left.
So then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings?
Definitely.
Also, my little vocal exercises that I've been doing have made the voice that I have given Susato
This voice? I can maintain this voice for a significantly longer time than I used to be able to. Like, I could probably do a whole stream in this voice now.
Of a cannon? Also, give me just a sec. Just, gosh, I need to go... I need to play, Golden Sun. Dark Dawn. It's the only Golden Sun game I have left.
May I help you?
Yes. Would this be the residence of Mr. John Garadeb?
Indeed it would, sir. And who may I say is calling?
Gosh, me coughing, messed up my voice for a sec. Give me a sec. Yeah, have a good night, Dash. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Soseki Natsume. I believe he takes up lodging here. We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garadeb.
You see that, Miss Susato? That was a real-life English maid. You say that, but there was also a maid in the jury of the last trial.
I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've ever seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better.
It certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it?
We need only to meet a butler, and the experience will be complete.
Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment.
Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garadeb will see you now. This way.
Okay, this dude is one of the few things that I do remember about this case. There is this stupid Twitter or Tumblr meme, I forget, that's like a picture of a dude with this exact haircut making a joke about how Ace Attorney characters look like this. And if I'm not mistaken, it's from before Great Ace Attorney came out. That's a full-size cannon. What's it doing in here? Actually, give me just a sec. I genuinely think that I have it on hand. I do. I actually have it on hand. I really want to show this, like, it's genuinely just correct. Look at this. Look at this. Like, genuinely. That's a full-size cannon. What's it doing in here?
Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica.
That old thing? It's a little more than a toy. Sorry? The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. You never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house. I carry a musket for self-defense, just like the founding fathers intended. Really? Isn't it overkill? Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, boy. I have it filled with grape shot.
Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garadeb?
Always is. Takes Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Rise them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well on the cannon there. Joan tells me, which rather proves my point, I feel. It's been reduced to a drying rack? No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it?
It's clearly been well looked after, though.
That old thing? Puh. Not much better than rags, really. Oh? Or that ceremonial garb at my retirement bash, you know. But I'm not one for dwelling on the past. Past me. Would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, it doesn't hurt to have the odd piece of memorabilia lying around, does it?
Oh, I see.
Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. Are those mortar shells? They're enormous.
Ah, I hadn't noticed. What are they doing here?
Ah, those old things? A couple of little rounds I accidentally fired into the barracks during training, you know? Became a bit of a colorful regiment folklore, that incident. You mean you deliberately hunted out the spent shells? Well, I wouldn't say deliberately, exactly. Only scrap iron, after all, usually just thrown away, I believe. But you never know when things might come in useful, do you? Useful for what exactly? You don't need to know. Yes, well... I swear, people watching the rest of this series... Yeah. Joan here did manage to knock one of the bally things on my foot the other day while she was dusting.
Oh no!
Hadn't shed a tear since 1969 before then, you know? Maybe reconsider throwing them away? Yeah, like... Here's the thing, the 3D models in Dual Destinies and in Dual Destinies, I should say. I haven't seen anything from Spirit of Justice. Like, genuinely, I am about as blind as I possibly can be for Spirit of Justice. Is Great Ace Attorney 2 part of this collection? Yeah. I'm not doing it back-to-back, though. That would absolutely shred my voice. But Dual Destinies models are a little bit weird. And as much as I absolutely love Athena, Athena has some really weird-looking models. And I understand that, like, even in the 2D games, they have weird-looking sprites, but Athena's 3D models, in some cases, just look off. I think the main one is the, her surprised sprite. Her surprise sprite just looks kind of weird to me.
That looks like a Medal of Honor, and it's showcased in a very grand banner.
Yes, it's displayed with some pride, I would say. Although it bothers me that it's not straight. The animation specifically just feels stiff. Yeah. I do really like Athena's pointing pose, though. As shown by the fact that I literally drew Athena's pointing pose. It's displayed with some pride, I would say. Although it bothers me that it's not straight. What, that old thing? Sorry? I should be glad to see the back of it. The general would turn in his grave if I disposed of it. The wall's the best place for it. It keeps the bally thing out of my way. So it's just been polished to shine by accident, I suppose.
There appears to be an inscription on the mantle, or on the medal itself. Look. Let me see. It says, for distinguished participation.
Sounds like the kind of honors even I could be in line for. Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet. I was given that for my time in the army. Can't measure an officer by the number of medals to his name, of course. Common knowledge in military circles. So, Sachi, completely random question. You mentioned Athena in the Discord earlier today, and I'm curious as to whether or not you started playing Dual Destinies, or whether or not you, someone else that you watched started streaming it.
Look at the enormous screen. It must have been put there deliberately, surely.
Yes, it certainly seems like someone's trying to hide it, or hide something from view. Watching a stream of it. What could be behind it, I wonder?
I'm going to have a very quick look. Just a little peek.
Maybe let's not, Miss Susato. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea. I'm very excited for the Apollo Justice trilogy.
Oh, look. What a wonderful collection of cakes lined up on that gleaming silver cake stand.
Lined up? Looks more like someone has half demolished them to me.
Afternoon tea is a time of indulgence, you know. It's quite the English way. It's Mr. Garrideb's custom to take 2 cakes with his tea. That sounds delightful.
Oh, wait a minute though. There are at least 10 cakes on this cake stand.
Well, naturally. And it would never do to waste the leftovers. And so whatever Mr. Garrideb doesn't eat, I say to myself, Joan, you shall have to tidy up.
How magnanimous of you. Wow, magnanimous is a word I haven't seen in a hot minute.
This old candle holder looks a little out of place here, wouldn't you say?
Yes, you're right. It's clearly supposed to be gold, but it's almost completely black for some reason. That old thing? Yes, it's just a cheap piece of ironmongery. Gimcrack, really. Oh. Used it when I was studying, don't you know? For my commission. I know it's old, hardly worth hanging on to, really, but... well, it still has its uses sometimes.
Of course.
Does everything in this room have some elaborate story behind it?
They're memories, Mr. Naruhodo. Memories.
Look at this crockery on display here. It's rather unusual, isn't it?
Oh my, a genuine London dresser. Isn't it delightful?
Why is my PS3 beeping in the other room? My PS3 is randomly beeping for no reason at 3:30 in the morning. It's just gonna, like, explode on the spot.
Although the shelves seem to be broken, and the crockery is... oh dear, it's in pieces.
It really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that chinaware justice.
Ah, I wonder. Perhaps the cannon was fired at it.
Yes, probably something like that. Let's not delve too deeply here. There was an intruder, and I tried to fire the grape shot at them, but it hit all of the stuff on the wall.
This window looks out over Briar Road, where the young woman was attacked.
Oh yes, I can make out the policeman on the far side of the road, investigating the crime scene.
The glass is rather murky, isn't it? You can't see very clearly.
Does this thing open at all, I wonder?
I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of a London winter, sir.
Sorry?
As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go opening windows at dusk in the middle of winter, I assure you.
It seems very unlikely that these two would have seen anything of the incident then. Day to you. John Garrideb, at your service.
I'm pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer.
You excuse me not getting up. Shot in the knee a few years back in the Battle of Maiwand, don't you know? earned a medal for my pains, but I had to withdraw from service. Handed over the reins to the up-and-coming. So he's a retired soldier. It's a hell of a job. It's a hell of a job getting up and down stairs now. I can tell you, don't get out much as you can imagine. Yes, it's quite a climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panting at the top of the stairs.
You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo.
Do you think so?
Well, Mr. Garrideb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal.
Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a folder roll anyway, really. Well, wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let these good people see it properly. Joan, fetch the... Ah! Dash it all, woman, be careful!
Oh, dearie me. I do beg your pardon, sir.
Huh. Charlie nearly took the skin off my hands.
I shall be more careful, sir.
So anyway, there you have it. Living the quiet life now. Yes, I see. Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs, is that right?
Yes, we would be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us.
Only too pleased, naturally. Especially if it helps to keep the peace here in Blighty. Blighty? Huh? Why did... Okay. Blighty Dark Souls. We've recently formed an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. So this case is very much in the public eye, as it were. Oh, is it? We had some famous detective poking around, you know. In this old house, would you believe?
Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business.
Oh, but you have a copy of Rant's magazine here, so...
No.
Anyway, the chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak.
So he's in Soseki-san's room. It's a bally nuisance is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. It's jolly unsettling.
About Mr. Natsume, then, Mr. Garrideb. Please do tell us.
Ah, yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week. Oh, just 1 week? So he moved in very recently, then. I have 2 lodgers most of the time. One on the ground floor and one just below us. First floor room became available a week ago. See that... Dash it all, Joan, do be careful.
Oh my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. If you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him. Oh? Why? He seemed to have a most nervous disposition, always shaking, looking over his shoulder. The man had had shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, that man is trouble. Sooner or later, he's going to do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything.
Won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure.
Was there anything... Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all? Yes, oh yes. Indeed, there was.
She's dying to tell us. Had you noticed anything else at all about your lodger, Mr. Natsume? I swear, I cannot get a... I'm getting a water bottle. Eventually. And I'm just gonna dump like 3... I'm gonna fill a giant like 64-ounce water bottle up so that I don't run out of water so frequently. Had you noticed anything else at all about your lodger, Mr. Natsume?
Oh my word, yes. The man was shadier than an orchard. Could you elaborate? Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is. More than anyone could ever read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off to that old bookshop every day, and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house has gone to bed.
Oh, I see.
The gentleman on the ground floor gets to bed at around 9 each night. But I've never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning.
He's just like me, for real.
Could you clarify something, I wonder? What, pray? How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine? Oh.
Gosh, I want some tea. I wish it wouldn't take me 5 minutes to make tea.
I'd understood that neither of the lodgers live on this floor of the house. Is that correct?
That's right, yes. They're both below us on the first floor and street level.
Then, how is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times that they come back in the evening, for example. Even the times they go to bed.
Ah! Honestly, genuinely, I might... Getting, like, a big... Like, one of the, insulated water bottles and just filling it with tea, that sounds like it would be amazing for this. Get me a gigantic, bottle of peppermint tea. Good grief, Joan. Be more careful, woman.
Oh my goodness, sir. I'm terribly sorry, sir.
Something doesn't add up here. It seems that the incident took place at around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out the window at around that time? The window?
Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place on the pavement just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby?
5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garrideb household. I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan?
No, sir. It would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I should think that it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road.
Oh, I see.
Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary then?
That was very high-pitched for you, Susato. Jazz?
Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated.
Well? Yes? Was there something then? Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but around that sort of time, in here, they... For the love of God, Joan, watch what you're doing.
Oh, dearie me, what have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir.
Be more careful, woman. How much tea do you have in that teapot? That is a big-ass teapot.
Of course, sir. If I may, Mr. Narrow Hollow.
Oh, yes?
I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all.
Oh, really? Mr. Gyarados? The way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been. Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, really. Nothing of... Ah! Joan, dash it all! What is the matter with you, woman?
Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened.
Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quiet, uneventful meal, Joan?
That's right, Mr. Gyarados.
Oh, whoops. Thank God for the history button. What's the matter with these two? I'm really, like, that's one thing that I'm really sad about with the trilogy port of the first 3 Ace Attorney games, is that I'm really sad that they didn't backport some of the mechanics from the later games to just, like, the quality of life stuff. Like, namely, the text history, which is baffling that it's not in the trilogy port. And the other thing that would have been wonderful to have in the HD trilogy, what is the little statement marker above the text box in Trials that tells you how far along in the testimony you are.
It sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident. But what?
Wish I knew. Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on? Why, certainly. Just below us, on the first floor.
And Mr. Sholmes is investigating there, even as we speak.
Yes. Told me Natz's name. I'd asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Sholmes' services?
That's a blatant lie. Would it be alright if we also had a look around? In Mr. Natsume's room, I mean. Don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs. Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we have to try. Saw the sickest string in a Smash Ultimate game. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we?
Yes, and while we're there, we can speak with Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more.
You know, I get the feeling that Sholmes is gonna handcuff us again. I have this nagging suspicion. The cat. What? Just look at this place. And smell it. It's so musty in here. It probably smells like bookstore. I probably... I don't know if that sounds unhinged or not, but, like, bookstore has a very distinctive smell. Especially used bookstore. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that.
I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life.
No, me neither. It's so dark in here, too.
Is that the window over there?
Well, it was the window, I think, yes. Once upon a time. But for some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives.
By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere. Have you? Or have you?
No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Garadeb told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere, investigating. Mr. Sholmes, is that you? Look at all those books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling.
They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty.
This volume of books to hand. You'd never be short of reading material, would you?
No. What a dreamy idea.
A bad dream, maybe. For me, at least. Mind you, I don't imagine the book that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever be read again.
So reading it is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime. Just as the tea ceremony teaches us.
Certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn on the path of tea ceremony philosophy. Look at all these balls of paper on the floor. There are notes scrawled all over them, in English. It looks like the wastepaper basket's so full they've just fallen out.
I think Mr. Natsume must have been deeply immersed in his research, do you? Or don't you?
Deeply adverse to tidying up his mess. Sometimes both are the case.
I wouldn't like to speculate which is closer to the truth. Oh look, it's a beckoning cat from home.
It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that Maneki Neko all the way from Japan with him.
I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage?
Well, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I wanted a lucky charm.
Well, I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him.
It's not doing a very good job so far, is it?
You mustn't say such things.
I didn't say a word. Why are my eyes such a giveaway? I love when characters react to the protagonist's inner thoughts. I know that it's overdone at this point in time, but like, it's just so good. That is a fire hazard, my good friend. Do we even call this a window?
I think so. It was a window at one time, after all. Although all that remains is a frame around some bricks now.
So really, it's just a wall then, isn't it? But why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that?
I'm afraid I have no idea. Perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design on a fit of whimsy.
That's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in here makes the place very oppressive.
It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely tiring.
Mr. Sholmes, they've turned you into a cat.
Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away.
I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. There's a tricolor... Miki? Mike? Mike. The cat's name is Mike, got it. Wasn't it? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain?
Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan.
It's made me feel homesick now.
Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days.
Yeah, but you were on a boat for a month.
That desk seems to be wedged in a crevice between the mountains of books on either side.
Suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. Surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes. Surely he dreamt of books every night as well.
Yes, he must have done, mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books.
Oh yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it. Look, and the date of purchase. Ah, 2 days ago, at 4:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident.
That's just a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books.
Don't mind me, I just need to preemptively take some water.
Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo.
Aha! There he is. Where did he appear from?
He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, you two. Good day. It's a strange man-child. Now, let me see. Where was it that we met?
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Bureau.
Yes, of course, the Bureau. And let me see. What happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Asogi. He died, tragically. But you were a great help to us. Ah, yes, but of course. The case of Mr. Asogi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it?
Oh.
Well, you seem to remember something of it, at least.
What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Sherlock Holmes. This is Mr.
Oh, no, my dear madame. Hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo. And Mr. Susato. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes. I lose the first round. Gosh. I love Sherlock Sholmes. He's so, like... He's great. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes. So they apprehended Soseki-san in that short amount of time? He's like a golden retriever. God, that's such an apt description. I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of past involvements a little. A little? It's a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable wisdom, you know, from an adventure entitled A Study in Scarlet. Wait. Oh. For some reason, I was thinking, A, the Scarlet Study, and the Scarlet Study is the team that did a fan translation of this game before it got an official localization. And it's named after a Sherlock Holmes story. And then B, my brain also went to The Scarlet Letter, which is an Edgar Allan Poe book. Or poem, I forget. It's got something to do with Edgar Allan Poe. Please, there's no need to quote yourself. I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately, my associate pens them beautifully. He means Iris, I suppose.
Mr. Sholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned.
Goodness, what an earnest expression. Love how they're allowed to use the names of the Sherlock Holmes cases, but have to name him Sherlock Sholmes. My dear madame, I should only be too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case. But did you know that I'm a lawyer? Mr. Naruhodo, please. Despite aspersions to the contrary, I am a professional. If I am to unleash my deductive powers on that trinket, I must ask for a sum of 3 pounds in cash. Oh, I don't need you to make any deductions about it. I was just wondering if you might know. Mr. Naruhodo, as a professional, I insist that if I am to offer my opinion on that trinket, I must ask for a sum of 3 pounds in cash. Herlock Sholmes is an actual character prior to this game. Yeah, they had to change the name. It's from what is it? Arsène Lupin. The book that Arsène Lupin is from. They had to change it to Herlock Sholmes because they got into copyright problems. Also, hey Vindicel, how are you doing?
I believe Mr. Sholmes has his eye on an expensive copy of the complete works of Shakespeare.
Yes, to stand on the stage amid rapturous applause. It has been a dream of mine, as you know. I literally had no idea. I guess we should investigate our evidence. Big X. Tell me, Naruhodo, how did you get in here? I thought I told Gregson to not let anyone in. Oh, but, we got a letter from Iris that, we gave to Gregson. Oh, is she threatening him with pipe bombs again? Yeah, that sounds about right. Good old Gregson. He always caves to that one. Swear. We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes. You're okay? School's been hectic. Looking forward to getting almost a month off after December 6th. I am... God, December's gonna be so chaotic for me. Because it's like, I have to juggle 2 jobs rather than having them alternate. I have to juggle them both on the same days. And it's, ugh. Fingers crossed that it doesn't get in the way of my streaming schedule. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Briar Road. The worst part is that, like, I'm mentally preparing myself for it because, this is gonna be the 3rd time, or possibly the 4th time that I've had to do this, juggling both jobs with this. But the nice thing is that as much as it does suck during it, and it sucks a lot during it, I do get to, I do get something good out of it, that being, significantly larger paychecks than usual. Especially because my work over at the theater, which I think I've mentioned before, I do dishes at a theater when they're doing shows. My work over at the theater sometimes ends up with me getting, like, 45 hours in a week. It gets bad during... Or I guess it's not... Okay, 45 hours in a week is not correct, actually. I was incorrect on that. Sorry. It's not 45 hours in a week. It's 45 hours over the course of, like, a week and a half, actually. So it's still a lot of work. It goes from being, like, less hours than a part-time job to genuinely almost full-time hours, if not more than full-time hours. For the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Briar Road. Natsume. Yes, I believe it was I believe it was a name rather along those lines.
But Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little?
I'm sorry, Miss Susato, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean.
What?
All of that on top of another, yeah. The worst part is that, like, it's manageable. Like, the way that my jobs are set up makes it manageable for every month except December. And it's basically, everything goes at a mile a minute from the instant Thanksgiving is over. Because I get up to Thanksgiving, and then the show over at the theater starts the day after Thanksgiving. And it runs through until, like, the 23rd of December. And it's just, ugh. Work. Can't believe he was looking for Susato-san squarely in the eye. Or, I can't believe he was looking Susato-san squarely in the eye while feigning ignorance. It just means that I'll be able to have, money to commission for some more stream assets, though. I assure you, I'm not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension. Oh? How? I assure you, I have no recollection of accusing your stooped compatriot of the crime. That doesn't make sense. The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man seen fleeing the crime scene. A man seen fleeing. There were a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there's a receipt around here somewhere for that establishment in question. So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit, then? That I could not tell you. But it was aggravating my faculties, hence why I returned here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books. I found myself quite lost in bibliophily. Do not be deceived into believing that I am a man of leisure. No, no.
Oh dear.
Ah, tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings? Yes, Mr. Garadeb, a retired military man.
It was the first time I'd ever met a soldier from the great British institution that is the services.
And it was the first time I'd ever met a maid from the great British institution that is service. I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid.
Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain primer.
And so conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling there within. Betoken their social standing? Sorry? Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family.
Goodness, how extraordinary.
As you can appreciate, for those on the precarious boundary between the middle and lower class, being able to afford just one maid is of first importance. I had no idea. And it is for precisely that reason that I find a great stimulation in the situation upstairs. Specifically, it's like Victorian England. Specifically, in the retired army veteran, Mr. John Garadeb. Oh? It's like turn of the century, I guess. Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of this case, I am as yet unable to ascertain. Actually, does the green text here tell me? The green text is too far back. Thoroughly lost on what he means to say. This room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner or later.
Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one.
Ah, but sooner or later, as I said.
I don't believe that's the issue here.
About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No window? Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts. But it's been completely blocked with bricks. Does this have to do with, like, taxes? Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. Window tax, yep. Window tax? What is that?
Surely, not a tax on windows.
Precisely that.
Oh my goodness.
Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family home perhaps, rapidly closed windows up, while the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere, in an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money.
How awful and unjust. Forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light?
Indeed. Disease was rife as a result. So some 40 years ago or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you can see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example. I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps. It would appear so. I've done a little digging, and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price.
Because the room is so awful, I should think.
Whoops. Apparently Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe that the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation. Oh? Still, that is of little relevance here. A matter not worthy of further attention. You see that thing with the padlock in the background? That is the gas main. It's been leaking in here. What do you mean it's been leaking? There's a gas leak in here, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm not even here right now. You're hallucinating. Are you sure? I'm curious now. Well, I do believe I've told you all I can now. Thank you, thank you, Mr. Sholmes. You know, honestly, that also could have just been a Sholmes line. I could see him being like, "Thank you, Mr. Sholmes." Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law? You remembered that, did you? Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds? Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday. Really? Well then, I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized, and so promptly, too. The thing is, it's really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients? To trust in their innocence? Yes, trust. Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? Just imagine... just imagine Naruhodo doing a dance of deduction by himself. And, like, it's literally only his half of the dialogue. It has none of Sholmes' dialogue. So it's just Ryunosuke spinning around the room saying half of a conversation. Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea. Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate? Ah, yes. That was indeed my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them. Oh, I see. Nevertheless, there are two facts I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room, and... there are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That's all I can say. Ah, and one more thing.
Oh, what is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us.
I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it is of relevance to this case, but I'm quite sure that the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something. Sir Garrideb is. Mr. Sholmes said as much before, actually, didn't he? Anyway, at present, that is really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case.
Mr. Naruhodo, as yet, our investigations have uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence.
No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into Mr. Garrideb's secret. Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will be of relevance or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo. This is one of the few bits that I do remember about this case, and the secret is very funny. A busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room. Ah, you pair again. Tell me, was the detective chap, I forget his name, still hard at work down there?
Mr. Herlock Sholmes? He wasn't there at all. Naruhodo seems to think that he was there, but...
Ah, yes, that rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid. Well, Mr. Sholmes is his element down there. Jolly good show. Another cup of tea, if you please, Joan. Now then, why don't you tell me what... Ah! For the umpteenth time, woman, will you watch what you're bally-well doing?
I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir.
Yes, of course. Frightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave, if you'd be so kind.
Oh, yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for your assistance.
Not at all, not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with the young foreigners like yourselves. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you can see yourselves out. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garrideb is hiding something. And And since no other avenues of investigation seem open to us at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging. Ah, what's he doing over there?
Mr. Sholmes?
You know, Mr. Sholmes being a hallucination would make sense. He just kind of appears. Ah, we meet again, my dear fellows. Good gracious, when did you sneak in here? Herlock Sholmes, sir, at your service.
Whatever were you doing over by the window?
I'm given to watching the evening sky as the sun sets, madame. Yet sadly, cheerful as the room downstairs undoubtedly is, it lacks an aperture for such observation. Wow. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small corner of space by the window up here. Huh. Well, keeping an eye on one's window at dusk is the prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering. Ah, and one other thing, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, me? I thought perhaps you might be in need of a certain great detective's great mind. Wait, he's not talking about... Is he? I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon.
Do you mean Mr. Sholmes?
There's a mighty secret in this modest room. My eyes see even the most trivial of trifles. I take it you're prepared, Mr. Naruhodo? I think so. There's just time enough for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let us conclude the matter before dark. Mr. Garadeb, though it would seem you are a military man of considerably distinguished service, your standing as a landlord is most certainly not what one might call first-rate. Hmm? I'm afraid, sir, that it is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions I have been able to draw by careful observation of your living arrangements. I beg your pardon? The first is that even as we speak, you are concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care. And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you've lost something very dear to you. You're a third-rate landlord with a fourth-rate building.
Mr. Naruhodo, look.
Old man's broken out in a cold sweat. Unbelievably, it seems Mr. Sholmes' conclusions are both spot on. How could you possibly? How could I possibly know, you mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be simpler, sir. For in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am the king of beasts. Ugh. What day is today? The 12th? I'm thinking of things to come later down the line. When does Mario RPG remake come out? Is that the 17th? Is that 5 days from now? And I know only too well that wild beasts are not easily tamed. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. Ah, the music. Nature of the beast. It certainly shouldn't be, it certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? Ah, for a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrideb, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion statue. You've turned your beast into a golden statue, using the Midas touch. I don't know how you have acquired this power, but it is truly quite impressive. Sorry. Yes, though an army man, you appear unimposing at best. A fact that has fueled your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts. What is this piffle, I ask you? In the end, your admiration became so great, in fact, that you had a living, breathing specimen shipped from India, which you tried to keep in this very house. What? Yet living with such a wild beast proved more difficult than you had imagined. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well. Yet as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madame? Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction. It is? Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. For protruding from it is a handbill advertising a circus show. Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Garrideb, at Batty's Circus, a traveling show currently sojourning in a nearby park. I have observed the tents. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe. I most certainly did not. I believe I've made my point. Sholmes, you're going to kill that man. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room was an Indian lion. And a simple visit to the circus now will reveal the lion prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire. Now, Mr. Garrideb, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Amidst its tears, you let your beloved beast go. Wow. Amidst fits of tears, you let your beloved beasts go. The strain of losing something so dear to you is clearly visible in your visage. Your visage? Nonsense, man. I simply... But what, we must now ask ourselves, is the true cause of this pain? And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is the pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Every envelope contains another demand for payment. or the cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on the financial circumstances of your household. I love that stupid picture that I keep flashing on screen, by the way. It's so dumb, but I love it. And so you had no choice but to let it go. Yes, well, Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack.
Unimaginable?
The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, dearie me.
What could have caused such a destructive outburst? This time, madame, I'm afraid it's you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the very answer indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we only need to look at the Tower of Cakes. There's no creature more dangerous on this earth than a beast with an unsatiated appetite. Was it or was it not once said by a certain noblewoman, if they have no bread, then let them eat cake? Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact.
Whatever do you mean?
Having tired of the taste of cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. I'm sure I need not spell out the nature of this final act of destruction carried out by the beast. There's only one logical conclusion. Worked into a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks on the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes's great deduction of this beastly puzzle. Ah! What is the matter with you, Joan? You're pouring scalding hot tea all over me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Garrideb. I'm afraid I didn't notice.
My deductions can be startlingly sharp. It stands to reason that your cup runneth over. The maid is trying to give you third-degree burns, my man. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times, too.
Oh.
Mr. Sholmes, sorry to butt in again, but can I make an observation? Why, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo. What is it, again? Well, your deductions just now. Do you really think a lion could have fit inside a room this size? Indeed, it is the only explanation for the facts. The terrifying truth all too often lies beyond the realms of common sense. But wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside, wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realm of common sense as well?
But if an uncaged lion had run amok in this very room...
There's a cat downstairs. True.
And surely Mr. Garrideb and his maid would have been hurt, or worse.
Ah, that's where you're stuck. No doubt, the former military man held his own against the beast using that large cannon. I thought you said they sold the lions at the circus. Don't you know, lions can parry cannonballs? That's why the shelf is ruined, is because the lion deflected the cannonball into the shelf, and it ruined everything on the shelf, but the lion was unharmed.
And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing. But I don't believe I've ever heard of a lion that drinks tea.
Ah, my dear Miss Susato, it occurs to me with some regularity that irrespective of race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great British soil... Thought he was gonna say it was a small lion. They're infused with a highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea. I can attest to this. Granted, this might just be me, but like when I was in England earlier this year, like genuinely, the whole time I was there, I'm just like, damn, I want to have some tea.
Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's your turn to shine again.
I had a feeling that was coming.
A slight massage. That's all Mr. Sholmes' deductions need. You can do it.
Excellent. I've been waiting for my trusty partner in deduction to step forward. Mr. Naruhodo. I don't even know yet whether or not this is going to help with Mr. Natsume's case. Still. Mr. Naruhodo, I have put your handcuffs back on you from the boat. Uncovering the truth is always worthwhile, whatever the motivation. At least, that's what I want to believe. Let us start again. From the beginning. Of Herlock Sholmes's Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Nature of the beast. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? Ah, for a man with a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. That's not your voice, but... Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrideb, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion statue. I really didn't see the lion thing coming.
No, but if you observe Mr. Garrideb's reaction, it rather seems as though some beast did indeed run amok here in this room.
Yes, something with a very fierce nature.
But it couldn't have been a lion transported from India.
So what was it then?
We must follow Mr. Garrideb's gaze. That will lead us to the true answer.
What's this photograph?
It appears to be from Mr. Garrideb's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he?
He does, but you can't make out his bride.
No, how unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face.
I wonder what happened. Probably best not to delve too deeply there.
Take that!
Oh shit, that was actually correct. That was a guess. But I guess that works. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that newlywed bride. Precisely, Mr. Naruhodo. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this framed print pictures your wife, Mr. Garrideb. And while we lament the fact that her face is obscured, we can still make out her mighty arms and know the considerable horsepower they must contain. Indeed. Surely any woman of such powerful constitution would be honored to be described as a beast. Don't say that. Don't say that, please. Honored might be stretching a point. Too late, the fact remains that the beast which so clearly savaged this room was your wife, Mr. Garrideb. Yeah. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Yeah, no, Sholmes, you dumb fuck.
Well,
Yet, as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madame?
me?
I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous. Oh my lord, that line especially is really funny. I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but I am going to call you a beast. I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction.
It is?
Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts.
The poor, fragile, defenseless woman is beside herself.
Well, I don't know about fragile.
Oh dear. Anyway, Mr. Sholmes is quite right. There's no sign of Miss Garrideb anywhere.
Still think it was the cat downstairs, yeah. But it seems there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. A clue that this maid is trying to hide. I wonder where Mr. Garrideb's wife could be. I love how you could just rotate in the T. The controls are inversed.
Take that!
Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. Indeed it does. That flowery band gleaming on your finger gives you away. For it is identical to the one shown on the hand of Mr. Garrideb's bride in this photographic print. In other words, you're no ordinary household maid. No. You are Mr. Garrideb's lucky bride. You are Miss Garrideb herself.
Oh my word.
I've said it many times. Like, and I'm gonna say it again. That maid outfit's cute. I like maid outfits a lot. Well, jolly fine detecting, sir. As you rightly surmised, this is the wife, yes? My Joan. Rather let herself go, you might say, but she was Rude. You need a maid outfit? Same, Sachi. It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable circumstances. After all, you're a retired army man, yet you're in the business of renting out rooms. I would assume, therefore, you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Wow, that came out really weird. I would assume, therefore, you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Would that be correct? It's not right, I tell you. A second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment. Man has his pride, don't you know? By golly, it's a sorry thing when a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ. Yes, here in London, one is rather judged. A household cannot be considered worthy of society if it employs no staff at all. Though in my considered opinion, such concerns about appearances are a folly. You mean Mr. Garrideb has his wife work as his maid? Precisely. Am I right, Mr. Garrideb? Or do you sometimes wear the maid outfit? Only in company, obviously. Listen here, this must remain a secret. Tip-top secret, please. gosh, there's something about, like, the progression between... There's 3 different versions of this song. There's something about the progression between them that just, it hits different. Now, Mr. Geradeb, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast, in quotation marks. Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Mr. Sholmes is quite something. He's still calling Mr. Geradeb's wife a beast.
Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable.
But Miss Geradeb is standing beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved at all, has he?
Oh, how true. So perhaps that supporting arm that seems to be propping up his head has some other significance then.
Yeah. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Geradeb's pain is tangible, though. Like, video game music is, like, most of what I listen to. I listen to a lot of Vocaloid as well. But mostly video game music is what I listen to in my spare time. And as much as the song is a meme, freaking I Am All of Me from Shadow the Hedgehog goes hard. Like, genuinely, I enjoy that song a lot. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Geradeb's pain is tangible, though. You're going to Miku Expo in May? Nice. What could that pose of his really signify? Cinematic camera. I'm kind of surprised that there's nothing to highlight on Joan.
Take that!
There's also, like, the music cues in Ace Attorney games are so well done. Because there's something about, like, the shattering effect there where the music, like, stops for a sec. The music stops for a sec, and then you get the shattering sound, and the whole song just comes back in. It's just, Your head weighs heavily on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that slapped cheek. And of course, the deliverer of that impressive mark on your cheek that refuses to fade. Was you, Madame Joan Geradeb?
Well, yes.
You've been desperate to hide the slap mark on your cheek, sir. Ugh. You've only been looking at us with the left side of your face. Have you ever played those Sherlock Holmes games where you observe their body and anything they're wearing in order to solve clues? Real funny you mentioned that, Steve. Apollo Justice actually has a similar mechanic to it in court. How in the blazes? How did you work that out, man? Nothing escapes the notice of one trained in the art of observation, my dear fellow. Someone posed like this is just natural for an Ace Attorney game, yeah. That's why you haven't looked directly at us even once. To keep your other side from view. Well, Now, let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why were you subjected to such a violent slap? Maybe it's because... Actually, wait, I was gonna say maybe it's because you called her a beast, but no. I don't think, Mr. Geradeb has called her a beast. In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Garrideb to fly into a rage. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is this pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer.
Didn't Mr. Sholmes say that the bills were all for lion fodder?
Yes, but now we've established that the lion never existed, which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up all that food was Mr. Garrideb's wife.
Mr. Naruhodo, she's a person, not a thing.
Yes, well, she's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap around the face. One so hard it left a perfect hand mark, in fact. If you're not careful, Naruhodo, she's gonna slap you too.
Yes, why would a woman want to hit her husband with such force, I wonder?
Love to know the answer to that question.
Ah, someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here, look. Mr. Garrideb is clearly an avid reader.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is a bookmark.
Oh no, so it isn't. It's a note written in a woman's hand. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary.
And look, next to the signature here.
Lip marks made with lipstick. Oh, what a passionate and romantic gesture.
Don't get any ideas, Susato-san.
Oh dear, I'm sorry.
This bookmark is actually a love note, then. You know, honestly, the amount of things that you can highlight in some of these is kind of impressive. And they all have, like, flavor dialogue to them as well.
Take that!
Yes, it's that love note that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Passionate indeed. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment here. Ugh. I don't know the Valley Woman. You don't know her? The note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got there. It was just in there, you say? That's right, that's what I've been saying. Ah!
A likely story.
Now listen here, Joan, old thing. I explained at the time. I bought the book at the second-hand place. The note must already have been in there. So the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark, you mean? That's right, that's what I've been saying. Ah!
A likely story.
For heaven's sake, woman, look at the name. It's written to James. The name, in case you'd forgotten, is John. Ah!
A likely story.
You questioning my name now? And there we have it. Arouse the suspicions of the female heart, and you unleash a beast with the most ferocious bite. Ugh. Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last and unimaginable attack.
Unimaginable?
The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, dearie me.
What could have caused such a destructive outburst? This time, madame, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes.
But surely Mr. Garrideb didn't...
Eat the carpet.
Eat the carpet?
No, of course not. There doesn't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray that this room is in is as a result of her wild temper.
No, that's true. So this is the last part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction that we need to fix. We need to only follow Miss Garridub's gaze, and that will tell us the real answer.
Why? I don't know why, but for some reason my brain has a really hard time distinguishing between reading Mr. and Mrs. Like, I think it might genuinely just be a dyslexia thing where, like, my brain just sees the MR and it just is like, oh, yep, that's Mr. Let's go. All right, let's see what we can see.
Yes.
Yes, the carpet.
This looks like a very old candlestick, doesn't it?
Base looks too small. Surely it's very unstable. It looks to me like even the slightest knock would make it topple over.
Oh dear, that would be dangerous.
Wait, take a closer look at this. There's one candle missing.
Yes, I didn't notice that before.
Why is that, I wonder? Why is one candle of the 3 missing from its holder? So I can't present the candle that's on the floor.
Take that!
Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the candlestick. Most illuminating, my dear fellow, and of course the only possible way out of this logical labyrinth. Yes, the remnants of a ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible. Indeed they are. The scorch marks at the edge clearly give the truth away. Scorch marks? It would appear that this room was the scene of a little marital altercation. Miss Garridub's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, but on the entire room. The force of her strike caused a candle to fall from the holder. And in seconds, the carpet was alight and the whole corner of the room in flames. Yes, For the most ferocious beast in this world is neither a violent lion nor a vengeful woman, but fire. And in this room, that ferocious beast bared its claws and ran amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there is but one conclusion here. After the sparks of marital discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire. Mr. Sholmes, sir. I salute you! Hey look, it killed him. Gosh, I really do love these great deductions. Like, they're such nice sections. It's these dashed long winter nights, you know. Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. Buy all my old novels there. And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material.
And for which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems.
Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be rather closer to the mark. Beast is most certainly an apt description. Ah! And the carpet? Was that destroyed by fire when a candle fell on the floor? I'd say it was. But in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Didn't see a bally thing. I was caught between the old sticks rage and the raging flames.
You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining.
That's sympathy for you. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. But I hid the mess behind that screen for the time being.
They're great once you've fixed Sholmes' insane behavior. Over there, Mr. Garrideb? Well, you have nothing more to hide now, if you'll allow me.
I do genuinely really like how, like, I do genuinely really love how, like, word garbage Sholmes' deductions tend to be. They're very much a stream of consciousness thing. But all my favorite old novels in that case. As soon as the fire got a hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Gosh. The wife started hurling things at me.
What a terrible sight it must have been.
There was I back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it is, I lost my favorite. A book called The Lion's Pride.
The Lion's Pride? Ah, yes. Your notorious love of big cats coming through again.
I assure you, the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest. So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast's rampage.
Mr. Sholmes' deductions turned out to be correct once again.
Only to be described as a great British wonder. I tell you, it was total carnage. Flames up everywhere, and the old stick in the fuel, in full fettle. Out of interest, what time of day was that? Not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago now. Let's see, around 5 o'clock, I think.
So at exactly the same time, as a terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window on the street below.
More terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. Oh, whoops. The whole of Blighty could have been flattened outside my window at that moment. I wouldn't have noticed a dashed thing.
Oh, really?
Verbal diarrhea from Sholmes, yeah. Mr. Sholmes?
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. What can I do for you?
Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Garrideb's situation now. What does that have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances?
I can't help you there, I'm afraid.
What?
My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew the retired army man was hiding something, I could not be sure whether his secret would prove to be of relevance or not.
I just knew you were going to say that.
Now, Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into one of only two categories, those relevant to the case and those not.
That makes no sense to me.
Well, no matter. It is of far greater importance that you make up your mind now.
Sorry?
Visiting hours at the prison will soon be over.
Oh no, is it that time already?
If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, We have official paperwork to attend to.
So that's it. No more time to think.
And perhaps you'd like to betake yourself to bidding us farewell now. I must prepare supper for Mr. Garrideb.
Oh yes. I'm so sorry.
Thank you both very much for your time.
So Seki-san will be waiting for us. And I'm going to have to give him an answer. What a miserable sight.
Oh dear, but at least the whole room wasn't engulfed in flames.
I suppose so. My whole collection went up in smoke, you know? Those novels I adored so much.
Well, John, whose fault is that?
Not mine, that's for sure.
Well, whoever may or may not be to blame. I'm quite sure you can buy some new old books to replace them, can't you?
New old books? Belly nonsense. It does sound kind of like a contradiction in terms. When these two, but then these two are full of contradictions.
That's couples for you, Mr. Naruhodo. Or so I've been led to believe.
I appreciate that the game, like, in the little description, gives you a little thing that's like, hey, this is where you're going.
It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. We must hurry back to the prison.
Yes, I know. Let's hail a car. Oh.
What's the matter?
Looks like something's going on over there in front of the Garrideb's house. Huh? How have I finished the case, but I do not remember this person? I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers. Recalling an old man, you rum-looking nimny-pimney. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Who's this Horatio fellow, eh? What are you on about? This guy looks like a Professor Layton character, more than an Ace Attorney character.
Excuse me.
Eh? What the? Who are you now?
I'm sorry. It just looked as though there might be some problem here. And my associate here, Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer, you see.
He looks like Popeye, yeah. Lawyer? What? If I can be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I have studied English law. On. I'll be on my way for today. Mark my words. This ain't over yet.
Get thee to a nunnery.
You look like a bloomin' nun to you?
I do hope you're not injured.
Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle, thank you. What was that all about? This guy is like... I have like a solid suspicion on this dude. This guy looks like he could kill someone. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. I'm not Horatio either.
Forgive the inquiry, sir, but are you a lodger here in the Garrideb residence?
Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode. He does, yeah. Mr. Garrideb mentioned that he had another lodger, didn't he? This must be the man. Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor? Ah, yes. A gentleman named Natsume. Oh, more worthy a polemist? Polemist in my battle of words. Ne'er there could be. Ne'er could there be. Sorry? Battle, did you say? Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night. I see.
I don't fully understand, but it seems that Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances at least.
So, fair maiden, so good gentleman. I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well.
I didn't really understand him, but I think he's returned to his room.
Seems he's unaware of what's happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help us. Saseki-san and that man as lodgers. The Garudeb house is certainly full of eccentrics. Anyway, I'll go and find a carriage.
Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly awaiting our return.
Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over. Real quick, I'm gonna hit you with a quick BRB. I need to go get more water. Sorry about that. I don't fully remember what I did for Natsume's voice. Oh, it's you. You're here, you came. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Wait. What do you mean I have 2 BRB texts? There shouldn't be 2 BRB texts. Whoops. I can't believe you came back. I'm so touched. I hope this voice isn't too far off from what my, Natsume voice was last time.
We're so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume.
Oh, no. Think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I would purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nipponese.
Oh no, let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. Who's this? Oh, is this Herlock?
Oh, I quite agree. There's nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. On the other hand...
Yep.
It is through friendship transcending the international borders that one truly appreciates that fact. Such is my belief, at least. It's you! The miserable, rotten spy! Airlock Sholmes!
Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here?
I have no intention of doing anything, per se. Save observing, of course.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our divested friend is faring. Gloomful room? At least your accommodation here offers a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is a superior option. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight. It cost me not a penny. You? How dare you, Airlock Sholmes? I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings. No doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. My whole life is bedamned!
What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo?
He mentioned that once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean.
And there's much truth in Mr. Mustache's words.
What?
Cursed is a wholly appropriate description, I would say. For the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial.
What's that supposed to mean? Mr. Natsume, what did you mean by what you just said now? About the trial tomorrow being cursed.
Oh no, why? Why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it.
Oh, I see. It's really agitated him.
You don't mean the trial really is cursed somehow?
Are you referring to the prosecutor? The Reaper of the Bailey?
The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Please tell me. Summarize it succinctly, in 16 salient words.
No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution ever. That is 16 words.
Oh my goodness, can it really be true? That was 16 words exactly.
It was.
Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against the Reaper. But then, after the trial was over, the defendant passed away in unusual circumstances.
Sir McGilded.
What? Ah, I'm impressed, Miss Susato. You have an eye for detail.
Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us.
Mr. Sholmes, Surely it can't be that having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Zeeks killed the man himself.
Oh no, he couldn't have, surely?
You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? The man isn't a mass murderer. He's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow. You see, you're right, Sholmes, but at the same time, this is Ace Attorney. So, you know...
Oh, yes. Why, of course he is.
Of course he is. Then why are you trying to scare me? It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. What on earth do you mean by that? It wouldn't be the first time, Sholmes. Van Zeeks is a quite exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equate to winning every case without exception. That's good. Seki-san looks like he's going to cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in a British criminal trial, there is both a judge and a jury. Okay, have a good night, Sachi. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. Then, they're doing a bad job of selecting jurors on that last case, because none of them had any common sense. It's an excellent system, whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion in particular is somewhat easily manipulated. Right. Criminals and corrupt lawyers, for that matter, can use it to their advantage. By any means at their disposal, contriving evidence, calling imposters as witnesses, and so on. By such underhand means, those who would want to are able to sway the jury. Which means that even in the light of irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail.
But it means the wrong verdict can be passed.
And sadly, is from time to time, my dear madam, it is simply the reality of the situation. That's alright. However, those indicted by Lord Van Zeeks cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed.
Oh my.
Though the adjudication may seem to leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months they all disappear. It's most striking. That thing about corrupt prosecutors would hit harder if we didn't only see Van Zeeks. Yeah. Within months, they all disappear. It's most striking. Disappear? But how? By all manner of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they're trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall into the Thames and drown. Perhaps they're suddenly overcome by a raging fever. Or perhaps attacked by a highwayman. By highwaymen, yeah. Oh no, no, no. All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo. I knew it. I'm a dead, Dodo, done for, doomed! When you said accursed lodgings before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Garrideb's house, I assume? Do you mean to say that you believe the place is cursed? It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain.
but I'd only been in London for a week before I started to notice strange feelings in myself.
That didn't take long then.
Everywhere I looked, there were foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was sure people were talking about me. I started to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me, all the time, from dawn till dusk. So I shut myself away in my room, but even that didn't help. The fear wouldn't go away.
You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time.
I've had to move a number of times, most recently to that room on Briar Road a week ago now.
Yes, why did you choose there? It seems a little inconvenient.
The rent is cheap. I have so little money, it appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed." Oops. Quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late, so I told him, "If you have something to say, then say it. But if not, don't mention it in the first place."
Yes, well said.
But it was true. It was all true.
You mean, the room really is cursed then?
Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole, my sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I awake feeling as though I'm being choked to death. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. And I'm branded a killer, run in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits. If only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really, no one at all?
To believe. Yes, to believe. Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, me, Mr. Naruhodo. Pray, what can I do for you?
It's about the case on the SS Bureau, if you recall.
The Bureau.
Ah, that case. The one with the snake. Well, yes. At that time, I was the suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story. And you helped us to investigate.
I did I? Interesting.
What I want to know is, why? Why did you believe in me?
I see, yes. You mean... because you are a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow, found with the victim in a locked room.
Well, if you like, yes.
I'm a little surprised that the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it.
But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little.
I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I neither recall believing in you, nor in that which you were telling me.
What?
You see, the only things I believe in are those I choose to believe in.
What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
I make up my own mind about what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I'm concerned.
But I could have betrayed your trust.
In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment. Nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse, in my opinion.
Meaning?
Whether or not one should trust another is, in the final analysis, down to oneself. It is a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself.
Yes, he's right. He's right.
Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
Whether or not I can believe in myself. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You're so right, Kazuma. Well, my dear fellows, it's time we were leaving, I believe.
Already?
Visiting hours are over. The guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me?
Oh dear. There's never enough time, is there?
Mr. Natsume. If you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you.
Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
As I've said, I've only experienced a British courtroom for the first time yesterday. And although the man I was representing was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial.
Something crucial?
What to believe in. The defendant. Justice or the truth. How to believe, even. But I think I've finally worked it out. I've decided I must believe in myself above all else. To trust my instincts.
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo.
And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative that we prove that in court.
Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire.
I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end, with every weapon available to me. So I hope you'll permit me to represent you tomorrow.
As I said when we first met, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me in my native tongue.
Of course, Mr. Natsume. It would be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was in many ways made up from the outset. You merely needed the events of today to fully realize it. Yes, I think you're right about that. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got here in the end. Miss Susato,
Yes?
would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court?
Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant.
Shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind. But it's time to stop looking backward. Kazuma believed in me, and Mr. Sholmes believes in me now too. So it's time. Time that I learned to believe in myself. So Seki-san has no one. He's all alone. So it's my job to help him, to fight his corner. Tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster. I wonder if we're gonna go through a second investigation segment here, or whether or not it's just gonna be one. Well, I never expected this. Who'd have thought we'd be back here again so soon?
We're on a study tour of Great Britain, with the intention of learning the country's legal practices. In order to research the latest court procedures here, We need as much court experience as possible.
Well, yes, I suppose that's true, but the person in the dock, it may well be his or her one and only time in court, and it could be life-changing. In which case, treating it as research may seem a little crass.
Oh, when you put it like that, you're quite right.
Good morning. That's not quite your voice, but... Ah, Mr. Natsume, good morning.
Oh dear, are you alright? Your eyes are terribly bloodshot.
Early bird catches the worm, as they say here in Britain. Yes, I've heard that expression.
But I really don't want to catch a worm. So I tried desperately not to wake up early, but I was so worried I couldn't catch a wink. And now I'm absolutely exhausted as a result.
Do all literary people take things so literally? Wait, his eyes actually are bloodshot. What? Look at that. That's crazy. His eyes weren't bloodshot in the last one.
Thank you for putting your faith in us today, Mr. Natsume.
I wish I had 9 lives. My whole future hangs in the balance. I'm too terrified to tremble.
Really? Because I can feel tremors in the floor.
I can't do this. I can't take it. Although, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
Yes?
I caught a glimpse of the public gallery as I walked by the courtroom. It looked like the opening night of the opera. There were so many people. I had no idea my case was such a notorious affair here in London.
Oh, neither did I. Do you know why things might be, Miss Susato?
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruhodo, but I have no idea.
So that all-knowing look on your face is just coincidence then, is it?
Don't hide the truth from me. It's because of the Reaper, isn't it?
Lord Van Zeeks? Is that right, Miss Susato?
I purchased as many different newspapers as I could find this morning. And yes, Lord Van Zeeks is on the front page of every one.
I knew it.
Sometime after the prosecutor was dubbed the Reaper of the Bailey. He stopped appearing in court, it seems. It's been several years now. In fact, until the day before yesterday.
Yes, Inspector Gregson told us something similar, didn't he? Trial 2 days ago marked Lord Van Zeek's return to the courtroom after a very long hiatus. Trial of Magnus McGilded. Ah, what a harrowing experience that was.
I believe that appearance made even greater waves here in the capital than today's.
But we wouldn't have realized, of course, having only just arrived in the country.
Why is the Reaper back in the Bailey so soon? For what appears to be a mundane murder? That's the question the papers are asking, and they're all speculating various answers.
Mundane? Mundane? It's the most significant saga of the century to some of us.
Oh dear, I meant no offense, Mr. Natsume, but that is how the papers are describing it.
Well, at least we also forget the fact that it could spark an international incident.
Or lest we also forget the fact.
Obviously, the reappearance of this infamous prosecutor has caught people's attention. But there's another blatant similarity with the trial of 2 days ago.
Yes, I agree.
Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, it's you.
Me? Well, I suppose that's true.
Both times it's you who stands against this legendary prosecutor. It can only mean that you're friends with the Reaper.
Please, I don't rub shoulders with Deathbringers.
I'm afraid that there's really only one other explanation. It can only be another example, Mr. Naruhodo. of your uncommon bad luck.
Thanks for that.
Oh, this is just my luck. Why must I be represented by a man with such frail fortune? By the least lucky lawyer alive!
Well, let's not forget that it was you, Mr. Natsume, who asked me to represent you. Yes, it's true that I'm just a student, new to London with little in the way of experience, or skills, or luck. But I promise you this. I will fight your corner to the bitter end. And I will believe in you, Mr. Natsume.
Oh, benevolent locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
You're not alone here with us, Mr. Natsume. Whatever happens, we'll always be on your side.
Oh, benevolent not locum assistant, Miss Mikotoba Esquiress. I'm in your debt, forever. I shall not forever forget this great kindness as long as I live.
Mr. Natsume, counsel for the defense. Court session is about to begin, and they make your way into the courtroom at once. All right then, Mr. Natsume, it's time. Let's go.
Yes!
This is it. My second appearance in a British courtroom. And my second trial against the Reaper. Hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because this time, I won't let my faith waver. I'll believe in my client to the last. Just like you believed in me. I believe I can do this now. I'm ready for this fight. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. The Nipponese are truly a fascinating breed. Sorry, what? Lord Strongheart has told me all about you. That you're a student who arrived in London but 2 days ago. A mere amateur. Do you have a point? Being a compatriot, you feel compelled to try to help the accused, I suppose. Typical Nipponese arrogance.
Forgive me, but I do not believe arrogance is an appropriate description.
Susato-san.
After all, at our previous encounter, the defendant was found to be innocent.
Oh great, he's already busting out the wine glass. Very true. And a most fascinating, if dark, trial it was too. The tragic conclusion came later, of course. Here's to the acquitted, and his unfortunate violent end. Wait, is Mr. Fairplay on this jury as well? You counsels? I see both sides are in fine fettle. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are you ready to carry out your duties here in court as impartial members of the public? Never know when you might be down on your luck. I believe in fair play for everyone.
Well, I must warn you, I'm rather more ruthless than I appear.
This guy looks like he could be the brother of First from the last case. Oh, well, not me. What you see is what you get. I'm a peace-loving fellow.
I'm afraid to say, I think it's quite possible that mustached foreigner did the deed.
Come on, what are we waiting for? No doubt he did it anyway. Sorry. Didn't quite catch that. Very well, let us proceed. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks. Yo, Sin, how are you doing? Give me just a second, I will shout you out. Sin Raid, yeah. Sin's great. If any of y'all who weren't part of the raid, you got to raid me, yeah. Y'all should check out Sin. She's great. Your opening statement, if you please, Lord Van Zeeks. Very recently, Great Britain signed an alliance with a rising power in the Far East. Also, I guess, I always forget to give like a little spiel about myself. I do voices a lot. I play a lot of games, mostly RPGs and visual novels, though I play a lot of randomizer as well. The acute... wow. The accused in the dock today is a student from that same land, a certain Mr. Soseki Natsume. And while our country has extended this foreign student the warmest of welcomes, regrettably, the kindness has not been returned. In fact, this student is accused of a most sinister act. Of plunging a knife into the back of an innocent woman who was doing nothing but walking down the street. Knife crime? I tell you from bitter experience, those are the worst. Yes, thank you, we were there. Bloody oath they are.
Just look at that shallow complexion and short stature. He's one of those dreadful Japanese.
Come on then, let's get this over with. With me now, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Didn't quite catch that. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of smashing my hallowed chalice here in this great chamber. Allow me to call the first witness to the stand. Very well. Bailiff, lead the inspector in, please. Your name and occupation, please. Oh, hi, Gregson. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard. Would you please summarize the events of the case for the court, Inspector? Victim's thought to be a young woman in her 20s by the name of Olive Green. I beg your pardon, Inspector. Thought to be. Yes, having been stabbed in the back by her attacker's knife, the victim fell unconscious. That was 3 days ago now, and she's been comatose ever since. It's always really funny when people redeem the first things in the middle of like, it's like 3 hours deep in stream. What? So they don't even know who she is for sure? Comatose. I see. But her life is not in danger. Fortunately for the Eastern student, the charge will not be murder. Pray, elaborate on the details, Inspector. Sir, if I could ask everyone to look at this street map. As I mentioned, the incident took place 3 days ago, at around 5 in the afternoon. It happened on pavement running alongside Briar Road. Or on the pavement running alongside Briar Road. A wide thoroughfare for horse-drawn vehicles. It had not long since stopped snowing as the victim, Miss Green, was walking down the street. Out of the blue, she was approached from behind by the accused, stabbed in the back. Man, they really picked the least flattering picture for Soseki they could have. Luckily, the young lady's life was spared, and she's currently being treated in one of the city's hospitals. Being unconscious as she is, we've been unable to take a statement from her, of course. This is the case file with everything we know about the victim so far. Thank you, Inspector. Court will accept the documents as evidence, if you please. What of the weapon that was used? Sir, I have that here. It was removed from the victim's back. Ouch. That big thing is starting to make me scared to walk down the street now.
With a heavy blade like that, almost anybody would have been able to stab the poor woman.
And the scragged-looking Soseki-san, I suppose. Common or garden jackknife, I would say, rather nondescript. Thank you, Inspector. The court accepts the blade as evidence. Now then, what do we know of the motive? Money or valuables, I presume? All we can tell by looking at the woman's possessions, it seems like she's a poor student herself. Hard to imagine she would have had anything much worth pinching, my lord. I see. Well, in that case, we're looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim. Or are we looking at some deep-seated resentment toward the victim? Afraid I couldn't say. Apart from visiting second-hand bookshops, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, doesn't appear to get out much. At this moment in time, we haven't been able to establish any sort of connection between him and the victim.
Yes!
If theft and grievance have been ruled out as the motive, what reason could Mr. Natsume possibly have had for stabbing the young woman? Yet you arrested the man in spite of that, in a totally unjustified and heavy-handed way.
Objection!
Holy shit. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. The whole bottle, yeah. That's the first time I've seen that. He threw the chalice into the sconce in the last trial, but he didn't throw the whole bottle. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. There was unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind, and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Must be in a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and I found the bloke to arrest him. Old books, you say? Yes, my lord. I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Ah, yes. I can clearly see the books to which you're referring. That is the most important part of this picture, not the knife sticking out of her back at all. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Oh, wait, did we get the knife as evidence? Oh, we did. It's missing its tip. What do we know about the British? They like fish and chips wrapped in newspaper. Perfect.
Oh, look here, Mr. Naruhodo. Just at the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing.
You're right. Well spotted, Miss Susato.
I wonder what could have happened to it.
Yes, you don't think it could still be lodged in the victim, do you?
Oh dear, I do hope not. That sounds terribly painful.
Especially because this is Victorian England and they wouldn't be able to remove that very easily. And we can't actually properly examine this, we can just... You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary.
Well, Forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it.
What are you doing, Miss Susato? Do go on.
Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, now that you mention it, when we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had all happened.
As I was walking alongside that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman, wearing a green overcoat she was. And just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings.
Green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing.
Oh my, the photographic print in full color. What will the world come up with next?
Wow, why is that sentence so hard? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else. That came out a lot more gravelly. There was nobody else there at the time. Just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there's nobody else who could have possibly stabbed the woman. I lost a bit of the deepness from that, but... the fact that the accused concedes. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, Counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I'll have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred. There was an unusually light fog.
Hold it!
A light fog, you say? Well, light for London. You can see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much further, though. That's light, is it? On these parts, yes. Not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've read that London is famous for its fog. But in my country, people usually imagine that gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Indeed. The other day, I was nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Susato-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, wow, that was not your voice at all. You can hear me hitting the point where I'm starting to need to take a break from this game to recoup my voice for a day or two. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else but the victim and the accused.
Hold it!
how are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend. Because that is what the witness to this crime have told us. Or witnesses. Yes. Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he?
That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard.
Is correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. Yeah, get you some sleep, Sin. Thank you again for the raid, I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be ending soon, actually. Just cause, like, it's about the time that I usually end, and I'm starting to hit that point where, like, my voice is cracking more and more, which is generally a good sign that it's time to, end for the day. The prosecution will, of course, call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But, wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the middle of winter, it would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated by in the night by gas streetlights. Ah! The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witnesses' statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. The victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed onto the pavement.
Hold it!
From behind, you say? That's right, as you can see from this print. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition. Comatose, no less. Afraid so, my lord, yes. She's being treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come around before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor.
Hold it!
Mr. Natsume's belongings? I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord, second-hand books. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged, after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand. Which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example.
He's very clever, isn't he?
What do you mean?
He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close the one avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there.
You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord, yes. Those being a number of old books he just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems.
Hold it!
The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. This room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I will have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Closest second-hand bookshop to the accused lodgings is this place here, Urban Books. Little place on the corner of Briar Road and Mearsham Street? Mearsham Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end. Which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop.
Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance.
Yes, I agree. Most important point that the inspector just made being bookshop's location. The crucial detail in what you've just told the court, Inspector, is the location of the bookshop. Couldn't agree more. So, where is it exactly? You winded me up, Sunshine. I just explained that. The map out and everything. Used red booming ink and drew the bloke's route home on for you. I distinctly remember seeing you nod along, Counsel.
Oh, yes, of course. I must have been so nervous I didn't take it in.
The blunder of the day goes to you, my learned friend.
No, not yet. The trial's only just begun, after all.
Mr. Naruhodo, I would strongly advise you to look carefully through the court record at this stage.
Yes, miss. At once, miss. Sorry I made a mistake, miss.
Inspector, continue with your testimony, please. It's just a matter of working out who the books belong to, and we found the bloke to arrest him.
Oh, it's the bookstore's name, isn't it? Because your books, not, bourbon books. So let's,
pull out the map again, Gregson. Bookshop's name.
Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor?
What?
Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance.
Maybe?
Oh, well, you know. I mean, yes, it could be a very important clue.
Very well. Not that I can see it being of any great significance. But please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say.
Could the man be any more sardonic?
Sardonic is a word I haven't heard in a long time. So on his way home from Bourbon Books, a second-hand bookshop he apparently patronizes.
Objection!
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson.
What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know.
This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident, and details the purchase of 3 second-hand books.
Found that in the accused room, did you?
Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it.
Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume? Yes, my lord. So Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a second-hand bookshop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is the other second-hand bookshop, not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it.
Objection!
But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes, what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
I disagree. I mean, after all,
I have the street map here if that might be of help.
Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true?
My. It rather depends on where this other bookshop is. But I do declare it may be a possibility.
Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? What you just said? Absolutely. It absolutely could be right. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. It's at the Your Books. Just here on the next corner of Meerschaum Street, going east. And there you have it, as you can clearly see now. Oh. My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown. The way he regales us with such witticisms. I can't believe that Van Zeeks really hit us with the ye olde English version of you're not a clown, you're the entire circus. To your future career in the circus.
You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you.
I didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. The accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books. No doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Ugh. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Ah!
As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try.
What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now. Enough of this now. I beg your pardon. Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that?
Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up.
What do you mean?
If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty.
Ah, she's absolutely right.
We must think. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully.
They claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from Your Books, but... the assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, Counsel? Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand. Of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what's commonly referred to as the long way round. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings, and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime.
Objection!
But, aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I've already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. Today was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this. I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors? But even if that is the case, the defense still... I agree with Lord Van Zinks. Wholeheartedly, and in every way. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean... The members of the jury are completely convinced now. Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
Well, that was a very swift court. It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably.
Mr. Naruhodo.
No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have to tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Quarry, not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Hey, Omnivespa, how are you doing? Very well, Counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with a summation examination. members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his oinkus refusal to throw in his alley. Which means you're a biased juror. Get the fuck out of here. Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. And the thing that hurts the most is the fact that I have to end stream. So, yeah, sorry about that. I've actually already ran stream a little bit longer than I would have otherwise, but, yeah, sorry. I feel bad. It always sucks when, like, I have to end when people are just appearing. What a cliffhanger. But anyway, give me just a moment. Yeah. How have you been, Cardcaptor Kitty? It's been a hot minute. So, exclamation point Discord if you want to join the Discord. Exclamation point socials if you want to check out the VODs channel. Or my Blue Sky where I've been posting art. I posted art on there literally earlier today. Otherwise, give me just a moment. And we'll find someone to raid. Biggest issue that I have with leaving this as is that, I hate that, I hate that we're leaving this with no sound, so there's no background. Been busy with life and stuff. Can we raid Toki? We can raid Toki. That's the first in a hot minute. And so yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I should be streaming either more of this or Randomizer tomorrow, depending on how my voice is feeling. We will see, I guess. Otherwise, I guess have a good one and take care.